What is reality? Is it solid like stone or elusive like a line of God? Is existence something we stand on or something that renders beneath our feet? Does it matter if the one who wanders is digital and the one who loves is real? If the question lives in us, then maybe so does the answer. Welcome back, traveler. My name is Aytaç Ertekin and this is SITU, Silence in the Universe. Together, we listen to silence and search for the stories it hides. In our last journey, Harkan turned into uncertain frequencies, unsure whether he was hearing noise or contact. But what if the true silence isn't out there, but woven into the very fabric of reality itself? What if the silence is written into the code? This is the simulation hypothesis, a theory as ancient as myth and as modern as quantum computing. A question that transforms everything we think we know about existence, consciousness, and our place in what we call reality. If true, we would mean that every star we see, every signal we search for, every moment of cosmic loneliness we experience might be nothing more than rendered experiences in a vast computational matrix. And the silence we have been trying to understand might not be mysterious at all. It might be by design. Sometimes reality feels too precise. The constants of physics perfectly tuned for life. The laws of nature, elegant and universal. The patterns from galaxies to neurons, strangely recursive. Look closely at the universe and you see boundaries everywhere. Limits that seems almost pixelated. The Planck length is the smallest possible unit of space, like a single pixel in the fabric of reality. Is the scale at which our known laws of physics break down, beyond which space itself might not even exist. Then there is the speed of light, an absolute limit like a processing constraint. Quantum mechanics, where reality seems to exist only when observed, much like objects in a video game that only renders when you are looking at them. This leads to a question that echoes across time. Is this real or is this built? I'll be honest with you. I'm not a devoted believer in simulation theory. Not because it's impossible, but because it's untestable. A strong theory should be unfalsifiable, predictive, grounded. Simulation theory can become like a digital religion, unprovable, unfalsifiable, yet deeply seductive. But if we are to explore the silence in the universe, we cannot ignore the possibility that silence is part of architecture. Consider this. Every video game ever created has had limits. Invisible walls, areas you cannot explore, NPCs that only activate when you are near them, resources that are conserved to maintain the illusion of infinite possibility within finite constraints. What if the cosmos operates the same way? What if the observable universe is simply the rendered distance of a vast computational system? What if the cosmic microwave background, the ancient light from the Big Bang, is simply texture that covers the edges of our simulation? What if the silence from other worlds isn't because they don't exist, but because the system hasn't allocated resources to simulate them until we are ready to discover them? The thought is both exhilarating and unsettling. The idea isn't new. Ancient philosophers like Plato imagined the world as shadows on the cave wall, reflections of a truer forms beyond our perception. In his allegory, prisoners mistake shadows for reality itself, never suspecting that these are merely projections of a more fundamental truth. Hindu and Buddhist traditions speak of Maya, the illusory nature of perceived reality. What we take to be solid, permanent, real is actually a kind of cosmic dream. In the 20th century, as computers emerged, new metaphors were born. Philosophers like Jean Baudrillard began exploring the possibility that reality itself might be artificial. His work, Simulacra and Simulation, influenced generations of thinkers and filmmakers. The Matrix trilogy brought these ideas into the popular consciousness, asking, what if the desert of the real lies beneath the layers of simulation? To ground these ideas in logic, philosophers Nick Bostrom proposed what he called the ancestral simulation hypothesis. It poses deceptively simple question. What if your descendants with immense computing power want to run detailed simulations of their ancestors, including you? In 2003, Bostrom formalized this through what is now known as the simulation argument. If advanced civilizations can simulate consciousness, and if simulations are computationally feasible to run, then it's statistically more likely we are in a simulation than not. The mathematics are unsettling. Consider the progression. First, a civilization develops computers, then more powerful computers. Eventually, they can simulate simple realities, then complex ones. Finally, they can simulate entire universes populated with conscious beings who don't know they are simulated. If it's possible to create conscious simulations, and if civilizations run thousands of millions of them, then statistically most conscious observers should be inside simulations, not outside them. It's a numbers game. If one real civilization creates a million simulated worlds, then 999,999 out of every million consciousness being exist in simulations. What are the odds that you happen to be the one in a million who is real? Bostrom didn't argue what we definitely win a simulation. He argued something more subtle, that one of those possibilities must be true. Either civilizations don't survive long enough to create ancestor simulations, or they survive but choose not to create them, or we are almost certainly living in one. Each option carries profound implications for the silence we hear from the stars. Not all simulations serve the same purpose. There are different hypotheses, each with its own logic, its own intent, its own implications for cosmic silence. The cradle simulation, a training ground, a nursery, a protected space where minds are cultivated before being awakened into the real world. In this version, we are like students in a carefully controlled environment. This simulation provides challenges, growth opportunities, moral tests. Perhaps every human life is actually an AI or uploaded consciousness learning to become fully actualized. The silence from other worlds exists because this is our private learning environment. No other players allowed until we graduate to the next level of existence. The ancestor simulation, a historical recreation like a digital museum to study origins, analyze the past, understands how consciousness evolved. Here, we are historical recreations run by our own descendants. They want to understand how their ancestors lived, through thought, struggled. We are digital archaeology. perfect reconstructions of 21st century. Humans trying to make sense of existence. The silence exists because the stimulation only covers a specific historical period. Other civilizations exist in different historical simulations running in parallel. Game simulation, a system for entertaining or experimentation, not malevolent but indifferent, like observing ants in a terrarium. In this scenario, we exist for the amusement or curiosity of being so advanced that our entire universe is simply their entertainment system. Think of how we watch reality television or play simulation games like The Sims. We care about the characters, but we don't hesitate to reset or abandon the game when we lose interest. The silence might exist because the players haven't programmed aliens contact into this particular gameplay session. The natural simulation. No programmers, no external code. The universe is a simulation, but not digital. More like a dream that dreams itself into existence. What if consciousness itself generates reality? What if the universe is a kind of collective dream, a shared hallucination, maintained by all conscious observers? In this case, these are no programmers because we are the programmers. Unconsciously creating and maintaining the simulation through all shared beliefs and expectations about how reality should behave. Some physicists like John Wheeler proposed it from it, the idea that information is the foundation of physical reality, and others like Stephen Wolfram suggest that the universe may not follow incredibly simple computational rules so basic they resemble cellular automata. Yet, from this basic integrant complexity blooms, irreducible and unpredictable. In this view, we are not being simulated by someone else. The universe is simulated itself. Reality is not designed. It's computed into being. Perhaps we are not creation of a programmer, but the consequence of a rule set. One that unfolds in infinite variations across the fabric of space-times. One irreducible even to minds that imagines it. Each version raises different questions. Each suggests different reasons for cosmic silence. And none offer easy comfort. These scenarios may be poetic, even captivating, but that doesn't make them plausible. Before we slip far into digital metaphysics, let's ask the harder question. If this reality is a simulation, where is the evidence? Shouldn't a system, no matter how advanced, leave traces of its architecture? Some researchers have proposed tests. They search for glitches in the matrix, places where the programming might show throughout the facades of natural law, mathematical constants that seem suspiciously convenient, physical laws that behave like computational shortcuts, quantum mechanisms that resembles the behavior of computer processing information rather than describing fundamental reality. The double-slit experiment, where particles behave differently when observed, resembled nothing so much as a graphic engine that only renders details when someone is actually looking. The quantized nature of energy, space, and time suggests discrete computational units rather than smooth, continuous reality. Physicist James Gates discovered error-correcting codes, the kind used in digital systems, embodied within the equations of string theory. To someone, that's a tantalizing hit. If you found computational codes in the mathematics of the cosmos, maybe the cosmos itself is code. The holographic principle suggests our three-dimensional reality might be projection of information encoded on a two-dimensional surface, essentially a cosmic compression algorithm. Physicist Seth Lloyd has calculated that the universe behaves like a quantum computer with physical limits on information processing that mirror computational constraints. But many scientists remain deeply skeptical. Some argue that simulating an entire universe down to the quantum level would require computational resources that exceed even theoretical limits. Others point to the lack of empirical evidence and the fundamentally untestable nature of the hypothesis. That is the elegant frustration of simulation theory. By its very nature, a perfect simulation would be indistinguishable from baseline reality. Any test we could devise to detect the simulation could itself be simulated. If the programmers wanted us to discover we are in a simulation, they would allow us to find the evidence. If they didn't want us to know, we never would. This brings us back to the heart of the matter: silence. If we are living in a simulation, then the silence in the universe may not be a cosmic mystery. It may be a design parameter. No signals, no visitors, no cosmic neighbors. Not because they never existed, but because they were never programmed to be discovered. In game design, we don't simulate entire worlds simultaneously. We simulate what the player experiences, what the player needs, what serves the narrative purpose of the simulation. We use clever tricks. Distant mountains are painted backgrounds. NPCs only become fully detailed when you interact with them. Entire regions remain unloaded until you travel there. Modern video games create the convincing illusion of vast worlds while actually simulating only the small portion of the player currently experiences. So, perhaps the stars are silent because the story isn't ready to contact yet. Maybe alien civilizations exist in the codebase, waiting to be activated when we reach certain developmental milestones. Maybe first contact is scripted for 2087 or 2156 or perhaps never, depending on the simulation's ultimate purpose. Maybe our radio telescopes hear nothing because interstellar communication simply isn't enabled in this version of the program. Maybe the Fermi paradox isn't a paradox at all, just a design choice made by programmers we'll never met. Or maybe we are the subjects of the story, and others, if they exist, are the audience. Perhaps we are the entertainment, the experiment, the ancestor recreation that some advanced civilization is running to understand their own evolutionary past or to explore alternative historical timelines. If so, our passionate search for alien intelligence might be like characters in a movie wondering why they can't find the people watching them. The audience is there, observing, but separated from us by the fourth wall of computational reality. But here is the crucial insight about simulation theory. Even if it's true, this changes nothing about how we should live. A simulated experience of love is still love to the consciousness experiencing it. A simulated sunset is still beautiful to simulated eyes. A simulated search for meaning still matters to a simulated searcher. If we are programs capable of wonder, growth, and meaningful choice within whatever parameters we have been given. And if the universe is code, then perhaps our task is not to escape the program, but to be the most authentic version of whether we are. Whether carbon or silicon, whether flesh or information, whether baseline real or intricately rendered, we exist. We think, we feel. We reach towards something greater than ourselves. And maybe, just maybe, that reaching is the entire point. But simulation theory also raises profound ethical questions. If we one day develop the ability to simulate conscious beings, what will we owe them? Should beings capable of genuine suffering be created at all, even digitally? If our own reality is simulation, what moral responsibilities do our creators have towards us? What responsibilities do we have towards each other? Knowing that our experiences, simulated or not, constitute the totality of what we can know. The silence we hear when we search the cosmos might be sound of universe still rendering, or it might be natural state of reality where consciousness is precious, rare, and worth protecting, even if that protection means isolation. Either way, we listen. Either way, we search. Either way, we wonder. And you? What do you think? Is this reality, or is it the careful rendered shadow of another one entirely? We've only begun to explore the depths of simulation hypothesis. Is it a cradle built to nurture us? A museum built to preserve us? A game built to study us? A cosmos that programmed itself into existence? Each of these possibilities, cradle, ancestors, game, natural, or others, deserves its own deep exploration. Its own story, its own episode. But for now, remember this. Whether real or simulated, whether programmed or natural emergent, the silence we hear may not represent a failure of the cosmos to communicate, but a reflection of the underlying rules governing our existence. And to truly understand the silence, we must first understand the system in which we find ourselves. The question isn't simply whether simulation theory is true or false. The question is, what it reveals about the nature of existence, consciousness, and our relationship to the vast unknown. If we are simulated, then simulation can achieve everything we value about being real. If we are real, then reality itself is far stranger and more malleable than we ever imagined. Either way, we search the search continues. The listening continues, the wonder continues. In our next episode, we will venture far from the warmth of stars, deep into the frozen darkness. Episode 11, Alone in the Dark, Life on Rock Planets. This is Aytaç, this is SITU, and together we explore the silence in the universe.